Welcome into another Q&A, and we have a fun one for you this time around. We are joined by Stevens Charles, one of the co-founders of LS Cream Liqueur. Stevens, welcome in.
Thank you so much for having me, Jonathan.
Well, I'm happy to have you. Got to try this. It's an amazing looking bottle. For if you're looking at my side of the screen right now, some amazing stuff on its own or in a cocktail. So I guess I'll just start right in. How did you guys come up with the idea for making a cream liqueur?
So yeah, it was pretty random, to be honest. Me and my partner, my wife Miriam, basically our family's from Haiti, and in Haiti there's a recipe that's called cremas, which is basically nutmeg, cinnamon, coconut, and vanilla mixed with some alcohol, condensed milk, and like a little bit of lime, a little bit of things, and so forth. But for the most part of it, we grew up basically every holiday. You would see, my mom, my aunts, and my grandmother. They would go into the kitchen, and spend like 6-7 hours in front of a stove, and we would see them like shaking up stuff, and like at the end of the day, they would come up with this concoction, right? This creamy creamy recipe that's called cremas, and basically we go up with it, and it's basically it's like, if you're Asian, this is like the first alcohol you're gonna taste, because it's always served like at weddings and baptisms and stuff like that. And there's always a drunk uncle somewhere that's like, he's gonna see you in the corner, you're gonna be like 7 years old, you're like, hey, come and taste this, because it's homemade, right? It's made with love. So they would always make you taste it. But on a serious note, yeah, it's in 2011 really, that the first December 2011, that the first spark came, because we're like, listen, this is so good. We grew up with this, but why can't we find it in stores? And this is where we had the idea to say, hey, what if we take the taste of cremas and put it in the form of a traditional cream? And this is really where the idea came from.
Well, I was gonna say, so did it start literally with you all making it and then taking it to a party and kind of like just having it there and seeing what people thought?
Yep, it is exactly what happened. So it's sorry about that. I'm sorry. So yeah, so it's definitely what happened. It's we were at a party from our friends from college, and and we just put the bottle of homemade cremas right there, because we wanted to prove our thesis before anything else, right? So we didn't say nothing to no one, and we saw the people navigating around it, because mind you, this is a creamy recipe in a Smirnoff bottle, for example, right? So people clearly know that this is not vodka. They clearly know that it's a homemade recipe. So people were not duped into like tasting something, like they knew it was homemade. So after that, we spoke to everyone like, listen, like, this was a test. It was a test we're doing. Like, how do you like it? Because prior to this, we didn't really like those people. Like, me and Miriam being of Asian descent, we were the only Asians there. So it was their first experience with it. So we needed to prove to ourselves like that the taste profile would be would appeal to other people other than people that are Asian. And that's exactly what we proved that day. They loved it, and honestly, the only thing that we needed to adjust was cremas is something that's really thick, because with the condensed milk and the fact that the sugar and everything, so we needed to adjust that, and the shelf life, because at the end of the day, it is cream, it is milk, so it's both things that we were able to do, and this is why right now there's no official shelf life on a bottle of LS. The TTB doesn't require us to put a shelf life on there.
Now, being able to use your grandmother's recipe, how cool is that to bring something from your family now to a new generation?
It's for us, it's the biggest, like the best way we could honor our legacy. My grandmother is not with us. I just want to point out that LS Cream is my grandmother's initials mixed with my initials, and it's pretty simple. It's just because we feel that it's a cross of two generations, right? So obviously the bottle, it's all us, but what's in it what's in it is really the heritage, a recipe, by the way, that was ever since her passing. She passed away. I was like 30 years ago, right? And her recipe is still in a Ziploc bag, on a handwritten note with all the steps and everything. And every holiday they used to pass that, that recipe around in the family and so forth. So that we're really proud of that.
Well, that is awesome. And that is just something that, that's a true story, and one that just really shows you how, generational and, family oriented that y'all are. And like I said, I got to taste it the other day by itself. It's nice and flavorful. And a cocktail, it provides a nice, especially this time of year, a little colder in most parts
For sure.
of the world. It gives you something a little more stout to drink with. And it's just wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, part of the challenge was also, because we don't want to be something seasonal, because uh, you know cream is seasonal in the market sense of it. But to be honest, most of the people they're been sending us like pictures and like videos on Instagram and Facebook. People put it in the coffee, you know, and and during the pandemic, people were at home. And listen, I'm not gonna judge them, so it is what it is. But
Hey, start the day off right.
hey, listen.
No, no, you talked a little bit about this because obviously it's got to have some shelf life, and it's a little different getting it into this compared to, say, making it at home for home use. How challenging was it to actually bring this to the market for y'all?
Oh yeah, pretty challenging. So if you recall, I told you that the first spark of the idea was December 2011, right?
Hmm.
That famous party at my friend was February 2012. So from that point to our first bottle being sold was January 2015. Is the actual first bottles of LS were sold. So those 3 years are really, paperwork legalities and so forth, formula approvals, and and yeah, just getting the recipe right. Because at the end of the day, it is a homemade recipe, but it's not as if you're gonna take that exact recipe and put it in a bottle, right? It needs to be deconstruct and reconstruct so that we can replicate the taste without, the steps that are being done at home. So yeah, so it was pretty extensive, but we were able to do it. We actually received the first samples of LS in February 2014, and it's with those samples that we sent at the WSWA that we won our gold medal. And that's where we started to have a bit of attention. And yeah, everything like started a bit from there.
I was gonna ask you about, it's one thing to make it, it's one thing to have others tell you it's good, maybe for some friends or whatnot, but getting those samples to the wine and spirit wholesalers convention in Vegas in 14, and getting a gold medal, that had to also be pretty awesome, because then you're in front of others, you're in front of people that have no clue who you are, and yet they're loving what you're putting out there.
Yeah, it's and for us it was like tenfold, because when we announced on social media that we won the gold medal, we had already a little bit of I'm going to say like like a little bit of a following, right? So people were closely looking at what we're doing, because I didn't really say it in the beginning of the interview, but I'm from Montreal, Canada. And especially in Montreal, it's true. It's true also in the US, in terms of people of color having their foot in the spirits industry. There's not a lot of us, right?
Hmm.
But especially in Montreal, where there's a big Asian community, LS Cream till this day is still the only black-owned product on the shelf of the liquor board here. That's called the SAQ, right? So when we announced what we were doing and we announced the gold medal, it was like an influx of love, basically, because they're like, oh my God, they're doing something. Like, we like to celebrate people in our culture that are doing like, innovating things, right? So we felt the love, and we actually felt the love all the way to Haiti, which so happened at that point in my life, in 2014, I had never been before. And because of this gold medal, I had a PR firm that reached out to me and basically pro bono was going to take care of me and fly me there and just make me do the media rounds and everything. And they allowed me to visit my home country for the first time because of LS Cream and because of that medal. It was pretty cool.
Oh, I mean, that is awesome. And that had to be just a ton of memories for y'all to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, it was an incredible experience. I'm always going to be grateful for that.
And now, it's one thing to make a good product. It's another to get it everywhere. How's that been? Because, unfortunately, it's not like it's a simple process. You submit it one place, you get to distribute it everywhere. How has that been for y'all? And obviously too, you've got it in an amazing bottle that is just eye catching as well. So how has all that journey been?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to piggyback off your comment from the bottle, like I come from a business background. Like for us, what was really important was like we wanted to disrupt the cream category, right? Because there's a name that should not be named, but when you think about creams, that's the name that you think about. And I felt that like it was time to have something more cool, more edgy, something that when you went and grab it off the shelf, you would be proud to hold it in your hands, especially for men. Because one of the market research we did was also about men loving creams, but not loving the label or the appearance of holding that type of product in their hands, and we wanted to have both women and men be proud to hold a bottle of LS. So that's where the whole design of the bottle went through and whatever, something really slick. But also, yeah, I mean, it's more of a how can I say this? Like it's so there's so much barriers. Like every states have their own laws and so forth. Like it's not really easy because even us imagine like the amount of money that we needed to put into this before even seeing one dime, was still considerable. And and Miriam was always of course was always there with me, even though like I was the one doing the steps, doing the entrepreneurial steps per se. But we have two kids. Somebody had to stay at the 9 to 5, and so we can be able to pay the bills. And it's not till it's not till 2018 that we sold our house and we said, you know what, screw it, we're gonna downsize. We're taking the kids, we're doing whatever, and like we believe in this. Let's just put everything in it. But it's those type of sacrifice that people don't really think about, because again, this is a cash incentive business, right? When you spend a lot, you put a lot out there, and it takes a while before you see it coming back, And that's the most complicated part about it. But once you really go into it, like we were able to get the attention of like a lot of people from the industry, including Fawn Weaver from Uncle Nearest, and Kenny Burns, also an investor in Uncle Nearest, and somebody that played a part in Ciroc and De Leon Tequila. So he finally invested into LS. So that's where you see the sacrifices that make sense, and that it comes true.
Well, and like I said, I had it in a cocktail, took it off of Uncle Nearest's website, and that was delicious, simple, straightforward too. What are some cocktails that you like to make with it? Because I mean, like I said, you can drink it on its own. It's 17% ABV. But some people like to kick it up a little bit. What are some cocktails that you enjoy with it?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like on ice, LS Cream, like it's like at the end of a day, it's just like amazing. But I'm a coffee guy, so any espresso, like I put my LS in there, and but in terms of cocktails, espresso martini, you can't go wrong with that. It's definitely anything with coffee, I'm sold. But espresso martini definitely is one of my favorites.
Well, and you also touched on this a little bit beforehand. You talk about the name LS. How important was it for you to come up with that kind of name, and how easily did it kind of come to you all?
So it was pretty easy because it was like it was a no-brainer in terms of like the initials, something that was like and we wanted also something that could be said in French and in English. So
Mm.
because in French LS is LS, so it just felt right. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest, it was fairly easy to get the name.
Hey, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad. I didn't even think about the other part in other languages, and
Yep.
just keeping it straight across the board. I mean, that is very smart. That's that marketing background. See, you knew what you were doing there, and I guess we'll wrap it up because it's you know a couple years now that you guys have been able to do this. What's next for y'all, and is it just getting it in more places, getting more people familiar with it, or is there anything else that you guys are going to be able to do?
Yeah, it's like we're right now we're at the step where we wanted to make as much people hear about the product so they can go and get it. We are in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maryland, DC, Georgia, Florida, California, and Michigan. Obviously, we want to get into more states, but we also want to spread the word about LS so people can have a chance to try it and learn more about Haiti and its heritage in this recipe called Kemas.
And I guess that, I had one other question because you talked about it. Was it difficult for people to come around to kind of this type of cream liqueur? I mean, because obviously once you taste it, it's different. That's with a lot of things. But to get someone to taste it at first, how has that been?
I mean, the experience has been fairly, successful in terms of like the taste profile of it. When we do tastings, we always like, we always have we're always successful like selling out whatever like we're gonna do a tasting in 3 hours, 65 bottles or something crazy like that. Or and it's a premium cream, right? So we're
Mhm.
in terms of our price range, we're closer to the $30 mark, So for us, it's pretty substantial to be able to convince people simply by putting liquid to lip. So yeah, but I mean, to be honest, the response has been great on all fronts. So and again, what we love is that, especially when we do tastings, you make people taste from all various from all different cultural backgrounds, and everybody loves it. So yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I've said it before. I enjoyed it. I don't just say that because you're on here. I enjoyed it. Gonna put this in a lot of cocktails, and like you said, maybe just on the rocks as well at the end of a night and a long day. For to get more information, creamls.com. You can also find them on social media at LS Cream Liqueur, and I believe Cream LS on Twitter as well. Stevens, this has been a blast. And folks, like I said, if you haven't, give it a shot. It's well worth it.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It was really cool. Thank you for having me.